Hey, well, welcome to the Dream Labs with Dr. Contrast, and really pleased to be on board today with a good friend of mine, Douglas Ritterling, the CEO of Full Earth Workshop in South Carolina. Good to have you on board, Doug, and this is going to be an exciting day. And before we begin, I just want to bring you guys up to speed. Those of you who are familiar with the program we're working on here with the slot car system, it's a whole new generation of thinking for slot car design, and we're happy to report that, to my knowledge, in our conversation with the gang down in South Carolina, Doug's group, is that we're getting some good feedback on the process that we're looking at. He had a chance to take the model down, the 3D printed model and a chassis system, down to a large track group down in Georgia, and got some good feedback from the gang. I'm like, man, what is this thing? So I've said all along that this approach to slot car design is long overdue. There's a lot of work out there that there's a lot of neat stuff being done, but it's very much in the formula of form of being Formula One related and IndyCar related, which is not really, it's not really cutting edge. Whereas our approach, when Doug approached me some time ago about joining forces with him on this program, took a whole new fresh sheet of paper and looking at what we're doing with surfaces, materials, and design overall, flavor, character, all that stuff rolled into one to get it all put together. So this is a culmination of where we are here today, and I thought we'd take a moment. And 2 weeks ago, we gave a little bit of status update on some of the CAD work and some of the things that Doug's been working on to put this thing into a really great format. And since that time, we've done some exploratory work on some livery studies. And but I wanted to show you first, this is what we were looking at initially, and Doug laid out this. I'll show you a couple of pieces. One like very typical altered 1-2 point, which is this guy, and another variation, a little bit overhead perspective to give you a little bit more understanding what the surfaces are doing. But I said all along to Doug, in putting the whole program together, what I thought was intriguing was that the more you have situations like this, where these complicated surfaces are very simple at the same time, they're very complicated because they're very sheer, very faceted, almost stealth-like. And the more you move into that type of geometry, from our point of view, I think the simpler the schemes are and the less fuss it needs as far as color and detail work. So hopefully that'll work out well for us here. As we go through the process, I'll kind of highlight that and show you what we've come up with, and maybe add a couple more variations to the end of the program here today. But very sensitive thing, because again, you want to make it colorful, but at the same time, you want to destroy the fact that there's something about this shape, the overall format, that has a really interesting content in terms of being much more sheer, far more, I think, from lack of another term, very contemporary, very much advanced looking. Looks lethal, looks very quick, very faceted, very intimidating, and I think that's what we want to get to with this whole slot car process in the new marketplace we're looking at here for Doug's situation. So I'll have to say that this is the first pass we looked at, kind of yellows and silvers and grays, and Doug put this one together. It's nice. It's a nice little combination of things. But the one we talked about is we need to simplify the form. So this is the one perspective we looked at, one piece of work we're looking toward, show you what the surfaces are doing. So that was phase one. Then we would switch gears and went to this. This is a bit of overhead work, and this is where it really begins to tell the story of what these shapes are doing. Very strongly faceted cockpit area, this little shoulder area to kind of get to down to the needle nose pointed area graphic on the front end of the machine. But at the same time, it really shows you what's happening with the surface, the section work here, adding some of the faceting for stealth systems and some of the sawtooth programming in the skin surface. Look what happens here. It comes off this normal canopy, the shoulder, the body form, and into this side pod. Then the surface breaks. It actually fractures, goes downhill toward the ground plane. So this is a better view to show you what's happening with those surfaces. And I think while we're at this thing too, we had a little bit of a problem up front here. Let's point this out in a moment. Maybe that's pen squared away. Up at the point of this thing, Doug and I Doug referred to the fact that there was a bit of a pinch point in here, right in here, because of the slenderness. In fact, you can see it better. Let me do it back to this one. See, right in through here, the more you add this canard to it, and the more you bite that form out in the 3D printed process, very difficult to get to because there's a bit of a fracture point right in here. So we want to solve that, and when we solve that, we'll show you in a moment here, was to add another foil off this normal surface that came out and kick this across the suspension piece and brought right back to the needle. Then built these rubber canards off of that piece and dropped them down at about a 15-degree angle toward the ground plane. So much more streamlined, a little more refined, and I think a much better fit for the overall product we're trying to deal with here. So this is the overhead perspective, gives you a little more a much better idea of what the surface is doing. And again, all the more reason when we saw this guy to keep the paint schemes or the graphics very simple. let the surfaces highlight, because there's so much shadow in this thing. That's what's cool about the actual body in white. When you light up the light source, I mean, you put up against the light source, all you see are these really cool looking facets and breaks. So it doesn't need a lot of prettiness, it just needs to be really well embellished and, and taken care of in a very simple format here. So this is where we are. Those are the two surfaces of perspectives I worked with here. So let's move into some of those we've done over the past few days. This is the first pass of it, and I'll show you some things here throughout the course of the afternoon where we're taking this thing. So here we go, phase one. This is the first pass at it. Looking at, again, using that very simple, almost eye level, ground level, 2-point perspective. Notice again, we added that canard up front here to kind of get that pinch point taken care of. Then we came right back with a little bit of maybe a dark charcoal or a deep black or a flat black up on top into that little canopy, that little catwalk area with a bit of accent orange, and back to maybe off-white or silver, and back to black, silver, and a little bit of gray again, and an orange. But I don't know. I just really felt like this is theme number one, and got the ball rolling. But again, you look at, there's a lot of activity going on here now. Is that the right approach? We're going to find out here very shortly if that really begins to make sense here. So I'm not sure. That's, let me just, if I can buy that, it's better. You can get this thing to really alter itself and keep it simple. That's not, but I think the cool thing about this was getting the wheel graphics. The wheels will still spin, but to give you that whole new aero look in terms of the disc process instead of that typical flat black or spoke system or the spindle look, I think a lot cleaner here to work with. So that was sketch number one that we dealt with, and worked pretty favorably. We'll put this off to one side, and we'll keep them out so we can refer to them as we go down the line here. So that was sketch number one. Part as I get these organized so I know where we are. There's one. Now, second one, again, a lot more orange. Some of the dark charcoal or black areas in the body form itself on the side pod and the actual body form sidewalls. Not bad. Again, a little more orange, but again, it looked like there was a lot of activity there. And again, back to neutral here. So it was silver to silver or off-white, and then white down and through here. Again, a lot of interesting things going on here, but it just didn't seem to fit the bill here yet. And I still think the actual wheel disc, this combination, rather than being all mechanical like the first one we showed you, is all very much nice fun aluminum. A little more color accents, kind of maybe a little bit of color in here, and then this little canard area down here was nice. I thought that was a nice touch. But in my opinion, and I don't let me rephrase that, but the concept overall to me still looked like it was pretty busy. There's an awful lot of changes to surface work, a lot of color changes, and does it really need it? So phase two, that was the second one we sent down to have Doug look at this thing. This is the third variation. Now, something begins to happen here. Look what begins to happen from phase one, sketch one, to phase three here. A lot cleaner. I'm a little bit just concerned in this case where that dark charcoal or black area, the black up on top here, might not be needed. It just kind of breaks it up a little bit. Maybe this all goes to one color, and then maybe simplify back here, and again simplify it down in the pod area, and then the tail canards. I just think the more we deal with a solid color or off-white or a silver, like a neutral, maybe a number 2 cool gray, or a warm, not a warm gray, that's number 2 on the pink side. But if you go to that cool gray side and then let the surfaces kind of ring in and just put enough orange in the darts and so forth and some of the surface work, then get it to clean up a little bit would be really, I think, a really cool thing to do here. So, but I think this one had the most substance. So let's do this side by side. If you look at some of the complications here, yeah, this was getting close. Let's go side by side here so we can get these kind of lined up a little bit. Maybe just a bit here. So we get these two. They're going to go top to bottom, I hope. Something like, let's do this. There we go. We get those guys side by side. I think you'll agree here, and I think Doug was at the same perspective as well. It looked like this had a lot more impact in terms of being less, this color here was good, but it just didn't have the same simplicity that this guy said. I'm not sure if it's enough orange or there's too much orange. But again, the cleaner the better, the less fuss, the stronger. And the decal work and some of the detailing and some of the facet work will take care of the rest of it. So to me, that was a real storyline there. So let's go back to this. Let's see if we can push this a little further here. I'm prepared a sketch here. Went back to the very normal black line here, but I'm going to go back in and look at this thing and see if we can get a little simpler with this. Maybe an off-white. We talked about that a little earlier. So let's go back in and do a little illustration work here. Got another scheme to start this thing here. So let's get this guy moving. Let's come back in here. Just put this as an off-white. even though it's a bit of a gray tone, but it's more of an off-white. Just keeping it nice and simple. Maybe we bring this in. Back to this spear, bring that through. Take it down to the side pot area. Again, and at the same time, let's bring it in through here. Let's kind of take this whole process and just kind of line this right up. Keep it all one neutral color. It's kind of, for the time being, let's kind of drop this out. So let's do that. Let's get that started. And at the same time, let's kind of tone in some of the wheel surfaces here. Get that taken care of here. Let's kind of drop it down. Now, at that stage of the game, where are we going with this? Let's take that orange and bring it right across the top of the canopy here. Let's do this. Let's get back. Let's do this. Let's get this in place on that catwalk. Run that through and run it down, and then bring this into this canard right here. This little pinch point brick we've got. Let's do this. There it is, in position. And I think, just for what it's worth, let's kind of take it into the actual front dihedral as well. Oh, all right, I have the screen there. There we go. That's better. And Doug, if you're still with me, pipe in a little bit. Let me know what you think in terms of progress here, and maybe scheme systems we want to work with here. Let's kind of put this little canard on the end here. Come back and detail it in just a moment. And I do think too, let's do this. Let's get this canard set up here. Let's get this little trailer down at the base. And just enough of that. Now, here's the difference. Let's see what happens if we get this off-white on this very cool gray, number 2 gray, up on the surface, almost like a pearl white. If we give that, that's it simple. Let's come back and do this. Let's come back and get this dark to work. Let's see what happens here. We keep it nice and tailored. Let's bring this back. Let me get this up here so I don't fuss around with too much change in direction here. Let's bring that in. And at the same time, into the rear sponsons. Maybe this whole thing just kind of gangs it so it's a nice, nasty orange up on top. Hey, Doug, it would be great if the body could be painted one color, silver or pearl white, and the rest applied. Yeah, absolutely. Doug, I think that's the idea. You keep it nice and simple, all white, and then apply the actual color with decal set of things you want to work with on. That's great. I think that's the intent that we talked about the other day. So that's no problem whatsoever. So let's do this. Let's get this guy in place here. Let's take the same thing into the canard. And try to build this up a little bit. Just keep it nice and direct. So this appears like the whole thing's coming off of those tail sponsons into the dart area on the actual form itself. So I think that's a much better approach to it here. I'm wondering too, let's do this, a little bit of this canopy. Let's get this canopy in place here. It's got sky tone up on top of that. And let's do this. Let's come back with just enough, maybe that dark charcoal up on top here. Let's see what that happens. Let's see if we do this. Just add a little bit of a variation in theme here. Come back inside with this. That. Just kind of switch gears here. Oops, sorry about that. Got above the cockpit, so it kind of drops the height a little bit, gives you a little bit less overall height in terms of that scheme, and pretty cool. Let's try that. Now let's do this. Got a little bit of that same trailer up over here. First of all, yeah, let's go back and get this in first. There we are. Into the upper. I think the thinner the better we get this thing. Hopefully that'll be a lot. It's a real good strength. Let's get this toned in. A lot darker. Nice and simple, very methodical. Not all of a sudden, that's starting to make some sense. Doug, what do you think? Put a little bit of warmth into this thing, put a little bit of sky tone into it. Let's do this first. Let's get a little bit of shadow work in here too, so we're not deceiving the viewer here. Let's get a little bit of shadow underneath this guy, off the sponson. Take this in, off the tire. That in, and again, a little bit of shadow back in through here, and run that right back to the canard up into the form of the plane here. So a little bit of shadow on that and that. Take that right through the shape itself. Again, a little bit of drop shadow here. Kind of run that through just a touch. Out of the light source just a bit. There it is. Back, touch this up here just a bit. Bring that into play. Get that through. At the same time, let's get this guy in place. And at the same time, I still think a little bit of touch of this is really cool. That kind of just, that's where you want to be, right there. That's neat. And again, the outside disc. There it is. Same thing, outside disc. And let's come back in through here. Let's try something here just to warm it up, Doug. I mean, we're not at it like a Sid Mead would be. I hope so. A little bit of sky tone to warm it up just a bit here, Doug, so it doesn't look so sterile. There we go. Okay, just a little bit of that here. Let's get this down here. There it is. A little bit of that same light gray up front here. Cockpit area. Just very simple, very. And let's get this guy to reflect back into that surface right there. There it is. Drop it down just a bit. Now let's take the number 6 gray and get that base skirt down, and not in the way. Here it is. Let's get this guy to function a little bit more for us here. Let's take this into this, and into that. And let's bite this back just a bit here. Let's take that pen, let's bite this guy back just a touch. Let's get a bit more of that canopy break in here. A bit of this shadow underneath the wheel cover here. There we go. All of a sudden, that's starting to have some real geometry about it. I think is very interesting here. So let's pass one more time with that cool gray. See if we can come up with here. Again, Doug, this would be interpreted as a white or a light gray surface or a pearl. And again, very simple overall. I mean, what do you think thus far, Doug? Is this making sense to you? You're the guy that's going to run this beauty, so I want to make sure you're happy with the content here. And let's see if we can get some of these guys to kind of bite in here. More detail. A little more shadow underneath this overhang here. Where this kind of comes back in. And underneath here. the ground. And a little more shadow inside the rims here. That's gonna get this gonna really look evil. All of a sudden, Doug, what do you think? It's coming alive here a little bit for you? Is that starting to make more sense? Keep going. Keep going. All right, I'll do that. Let's see if we can get that designated number in here. Oh, pardon me, let's do this. Pull that back a little bit more. And some have to reflect back into that upper piece. That's better. Not drifting out of the plan. There we go. Nope, don't need that one. Go back to number 6. Well, stop there just for a moment here, Doug. What do you think? I think this simplified scheme helps to understand the, yeah, oh, no question, Doug. That's so much easier to come, and just so you can see where the facets are. But let me just, excuse me, let me try this just for a moment here. A bit of this, so we get a little bit of highlighting this stuff now. Clean this up just a bit here, pardon me. Get this out of the way. Clean this up too. I get this graphic to kind of sing nicely for us here. There you go. That's that. We can get this guy to come back a little bit here on us. I'll get some we'll get some temper on those wheels here, Doug, to kind of put it all together. But what do you think thus far? I mean, let's do this. Let's get these facets. See what's happening on the canopy area here. So we've got that coming in, that coming in, that coming in, that to that. All right, Doug, here we go. What do you think? Simpler? Cleaner? Like this simplified scheme. Loving it. Yeah, I think that's got a lot more character to it, I think, Doug. That just keeps it nice and simple. Enough orange to kind of, the dart itself is going to be interesting because when you see it in the plan view, that whole bed is going to be all dart-like going back into the canopy area. So let me try something here, Doug. Excuse me. Let's put some hot spot on this thing, man, and give it some real juice. Ready? There's number one. Hang on a minute, Doug. Just saw something here. I just don't really have a bit of a skid here. There you go. What do you think, Doug? What do you think, Doug? Does that make some sense now? I mean, I think that's got, look at the difference there between this guy. There's a little comparison here. One against the other. I mean, look at the difference in the contrast there between, I think the idea behind getting that stuff up on top and doing a lot more of this so off-white of this pearl look, and then it's very orange and it's very dark up on top. You got to drop the canopy down, really to the vent. That's it. You're loving it. Don't burn yourself. Don't forget the light bulb. So, oh yeah, the light bulb. We'll worry about that one later, Doug. Not a problem. So that's that guy. What do you think? Overall, pretty strong? I think it just has a lot more presence to it, Doug. Quite frankly, I'm really happier that we went through. Look at the difference. I just kind of line these guys up in some of the busy close here, so we can get all three on the same screen. I'm not sure we can do that or not, but see if we can get those. That one, and maybe just barely that one. Drop this guy down just a bit more. That one. No, we're not going to get all of them in there. But again, look at the difference. There's some similarity there, but I think the brighter, the more you see this whole idea, this whole concept behind us with the actual orange itself, really makes a huge difference, I think. So let's see, that's 1, 2, and 3. Put those guys together. Much happier. I think that's a really interesting setup here, Doug. I think as far as the concept goes, I think it's got a lot more presence to it. I think it makes real good sense. It's simple. I don't know about you, but maybe a little touch of color. Maybe we reverse this. Maybe this goes orange and that goes black now. But let's do this. Let's try this. Now that I've got that one down, let's put that one aside for a minute here, Doug. We'll come back to it. How cool is that, right? I mean, that's really going to be. Now, in the meantime, I put together this little perspective here so we can see what's going on up on top here. So there's another view. I want to take a look at that real quickly here, Doug. Yeah, simple and elegant. That's a great key word there, I think, Doug, all the way through the process. That's what we're after. So let's try this. With this one, let's go back to the one we just finished. This guy, put them side by side here. This guy has something to do with just that combination, the orange to off-white or pearl, and orange. I wonder if we go the other way. Let's try this. Let's go orange up on top, a little bit of that dark charcoal in between, then back to body color. Let's see what that does. Let me put that aside. I'm going to use that in a moment here as a reference. So let's come back in here. Let's get the orange out of the way first. Let's go back and get this guy in place. Let's go to orange up on top, canopy wise. Let's go back and get this all straight up. Just now this. Oh, I'm on screen here, Doug. Sorry about that. Let's just get this guy blushed in first, and we'll kind of add some more detail as we go here. So let's take care of that. Let's do that. Let's do this. In this case, let's get these guys up and running here. Let's try this. Let's go back and reverse this. Put the color on the inside and embellish the rim on the outside. All right, now let's get this canard done. Now let's do a little bit of contrast in this first. Let's see what we come up with there. see this number 8 gray. Let's see what happens here. Okay, there we are. Now, let's put a little bit of body color in this thing now. Let's see what happens here. No, first of all, no, we can do that. Let's see what happens when we get back here. I'm going to separate one from the other. Put a little bit of tone back here, Doug. This is going to give us an idea of what that plan B is going to look like here in terms of that really big, strong orange papaya, McLaren orange backdrop on this thing. I'll separate those two forms in a moment here. I just want to stain it in. Pardon me for rotating the pad here a little bit. Ooh, I think this is going to be all right. T-shirt graphic. Yeah, absolutely. Pardon me as I rotate it in just a little bit here, Doug. There we are. Look at that. All of a sudden, that whole plan form started to come together nicely. Keeping it simple. A lot of color mass here, but still working. Let's get this front end canard in place here. Let's do this. Bring that in. Let's bring that in. Now, let's put this guy, let's put the body form in now. Now, let's put a little bit of this in here so we kind of secure it a little bit here, Doug. Oh, there it is. Do this too, Doug, just to kind of tie it all together here. Great, there we go. Bit of shadow underneath this thing, Doug. Make that kind of hard. And that back, bit of shadow inside through here. A chord change across that highlight. And let's do this. See what happens here if we bring this off. Maybe, I don't know, Doug, what do you think about these canards, Doug? Should we keep them silver, off-white, or go bring in the orange on in? What do you think? Any thoughts at all, Doug, about where you want to take this thing? Very interesting. That's far. I remember when we just kind of put a bit of tone in this thing. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, let's do this. Let's try this, Doug. All right, let's try something here. Take a look at what we got on the other side here. Yeah, I think that's coming along pretty nicely here, Doug. I think you're right. That's a good call on that, on the actual front flounce. It keeps it nice and light and simple. Orange uppers. Hey, what do you think? Pretty cool? Orange uppers? Maybe up and through here, Doug, or what? A bit of shadow across that canard there to kind of get that to read more clearly. And the shadow side there. Contour through this guy. A little bit of core right there. It still remains an off-white piece, though. It just has a lot more, a little more. Let's do this. Let's get this guy up. What do you think, Doug? You got it. Orange front canards. What do you think? Pretty good? Let's see, let's put a little bit of tone here on that guy. Change the pace just a bit. Let's get that shadow to kind of run a little bit more into that form. There we are. Contour there. And a little bit of contour there. Break is. And overall, I think that's coming along pretty nicely there, Doug. What do you think? Make sense coming over the top? Now, obviously, this can be a lot bolder too. We can actually bring silver back in through here too, Doug. I might do a couple more variations when we go off air today to kind of wrap some things up for you here. Let's start doing this. Start getting some real detail in this beauty here. Yeah, it's let's get that number 6 gray down below here. Break this up just a touch. There we are. It's got it. Let's get these definitions in here, please. The number 3 gray here. Cast a bit of that shadow. We're a little bolder into this upper here. That's better. Tells us where that light source is coming from. Clean this up a little bit. Shifting the page around here, Doug. Just want to make sure we get these tires kind of defined a little bit more clearly. This guy. All right, Doug, what do you think overall? 3/4 upper, it's too much, too little? Got it, orange front cards, there it is. Very simple, just a nice little detail piece here, but let's do this. So let's wrap this thing up. It's gonna go highlight into this beauty. Well, pardon me here, Doug. There we are, Doug. What do you think? That's it. Sparkles make the world go round. Yes. Who? What do you think, Doug? Does that pretty well meet the standard you're after? We could, the more I look at this, pardon me, I just put this cap on this temper here so we don't burn it out a little bit. I'm just maybe wondering if this, maybe one more look at this overall paint scheme, but just coming back in with maybe a touch more, much more silver up on top of it, that black might be out of place. Although it kind of helps to break the canopy up a little bit. What's your opinion? What do you think, Doug? Safe? Well, at any rate, I'll wait. I'll kind of pick up on some things here, Doug, and clean some matters up on the form here to kind of get this guy up to speed and get these sketches down to you for evaluation. So really appreciate you being on board today, Doug. Big difference. Let's do this. A couple connectors here. Let's get those design lines in there. Lost. There we are. There it is, Doug. There's another variation in the theme. I hope that works for you here. So a little bit caught up on this. Let's do this. Let's get some sort of section definition in through this thing. That breaks. That comes through. That should break. And that should break. That tells us a little bit what those surfaces are doing. And we've got one back here too. So that helps a little bit, Doug. So I think for the time being, I think that's got a pretty good chance of being very successful here. I think that's got some really interesting impact to it. So, well, Doug, I'm really thank you for joining on board today. Let me see if I can get this one last little detail here. I want to make sure we get really not to skirt over here. Let's get this guy. And there it is. Interesting, Doug. I hope that works for you here. We'll wrap this guy up today. Oh, I missed it on this side. You're not going to see it, so just maybe sneak just a bit of it right there. And one last little detail here that I did miss, and we'll make sure we get that clarified here. Where are we? 3. Let's get the shadow side down on the peak of the body, just enough right there, and just enough right there. Okay, here we are, Doctor. Interesting set of circumstances, Doug. I think it was a lot of fun to go through this active and live. I'll put some numeric dimensions on this thing, or numbers, sketch 4 and 5. Photograph them, get them down to you for evaluation, and hopefully that'll all work out well, Doug. So cannot thank you enough for joining forces here today, gang. Those of you who are on board, thank you so much. Let's get rid of this guy here so I can see what I'm doing. That's it, gone. And hopefully that's going to work out very well. So thanks so much, Doug, for joining forces. This has been a very great educational forum here for to kind of work with you on this. And we'll get these guys squared away. Thank you for your patience. Above all else, guys, we'll see you next week. Probably different subject matter. We're doing some architecture, some things coming down the line here that we're going to work with here. And at the same time, we'll do some justice to the fact that our website's coming along nicely. We're getting that built up very, very well. This program, I think, we're getting some great feedback on it, so I'm very happy for you, Doug, to make sure that that's taking place. And above all else, we'll keep it moving here, and if anything else you need here, Doug, we'll just keep moving, advancing the cause, and looking forward to getting the sketches down to you and getting the feedback from the population that are going to purchase this thing. So it's going to be really cool, Doug. So all the very best to you. Have a great day, and to those of you watching later on, thank you so much for your attention as well. Stay tuned. I'm live every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and we'll be switching gears to different subject matter. Website, again, that I've redundant. It's coming along nicely. We're going to add more materials. Some of these, we're going to add Doug's Earth Workshops site on my site, so we're kind of double the forces up a little bit to get this guy done, and it's going to be really cool. So once again, thank you so much for joining me today, and always remember this: never forget to dare to remember to be great, because you are great. Thanks very much, gang. Have a great week. We'll see you next week, and all the best. Thank you.